Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Samasta Janakalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Satgurum Brahmavidvaram. Okay, so we were speaking last week about what we call Sadhana Chatushtaya. Sadhana Chatushtaya means Chatushtaya, fourfold. Sadhana means fourfold means for a seeker. So the fourfold qualifications of a seeker. And we saw that they are really 9. How are they 9? First is Viveka, or what we have as discrimination. Then Vairagya, or dispassion. Then we have the sixfold wealth, right? So it is Shama, Dhamma, Uparama, Titiksha, Shraddha, Samadhanam. Then we have Mumukshutva, burning desire for liberation. So then if you put it together, it's actually 9 because the third one is like a zip drive, okay? And we went through Viveka, Vairagya, and Dhamma. So I'll just give a little hint to what we went through and then we will continue. It is said in Vedanta, why is it that some people are able to get this knowledge and why is it that some people cannot get this knowledge? It depends on the quality of the mind. It doesn't depend on any gender, on any race, on any time, on any space or place. But what it really, really depends on is the quality of the mind. How pure is it and does it have these qualifications? If it has these qualifications, then knowledge happens instantly. If the mind does not have these qualifications, then knowledge will take a long time. So we saw Viveka. Viveka means discrimination between what's permanent and what's impermanent. A seeker slowly starts to say, okay, I'm seeing, I'm examining things in life, and there are certain things that are always there, that's really permanent. That is, maybe I can't point my finger to what it is. It is God, it's a being, it's my true self. Maybe I can't point it, but there's something that's always there. But everything else is so impermanent. It's always changing. It's always going away. Everything is always in flux. And the seeker also says that nothing actually in this world is really giving me permanent joy. I'm looking at everything and there's nothing I have found so far that gives me permanent joy. So this kind of examination is essential. Without examining life, nobody will come to inquire about the self. That is called Viveka. Examining life and understanding what's permanent, what is impermanent, what is eternal, and what is ephemeral. The next one is Vairagya, which what we defined as Icharahitya, means that absence of desire. Because I know that this whole world is impermanent, therefore I don't want it anymore. And the 3 main desires that people have, it can be clubbed into these categories. One is what we call lokeshara. It is that desire for name, for fame, to be recognized, to be appreciated, to be applauded, to be honored. Everyone has that some desire for name and fame, to be on top, to win something, to get so many accolades. Another desire is what we call vitteshana, that desire for power and money, want so much luxury, comfort, money, all of that, and power, position. want to be in a certain place so that you can rule over people. So this desire is also inside. And then another desire is putreshana, that desire for progeny, for pleasure, for social atmosphere, for social life. That desire is also there because we feel like that's going to complete us. We want someone to love. We want to be loved. We want to be part of something. And so that putreshana desire is there. But when we realize that, you know what, nothing in this world is actually going to make me full. Not any amount of recognition or appreciation or value, because sometimes people will praise us and sometimes people will insult us. Not really money, because sometimes we gain a lot of money and sometimes we lose a lot of money. And when we saw last week, when we gain money, we gain friends. When we lose money, we lose a lot of friends. So not really money is making me happy. So that desire goes away. And then that also that desire for belonging, being loved, etc. We realize that relationships also, they come and go and they change their textures. And therefore we don't desire that so much anymore. So this vairagya is really the absence of desire, because I'm realizing I'm not getting what I want out of these desires. My desires are just growing more and more and more, but I'm not getting satisfied. In fact, I'm just getting more restless. That's vairagya. And that desire, absence of desire, leads to detachment. It means one is not anymore interested in pursuing the world for such fancy desires. They still act in the world because we do our dharma, but doing our dharma is because of purity. The only thing that one really wants is to gain purity of heart so that they can go within and realize the truth. All of this other wanting name, fame, etc., that all starts to go away. It all starts to fade into the background. When that happens, that's called vairagya. And this vairagya, this viveka, brings about vairagya. This vairagya brings about the sixfold wealth. And the sixfold wealth in our culture is called Lakshmi. Lakshmi is the epitome of these six values. That's why we worship her. We worship her in Navaratri. Especially today, it's so auspicious that we are speaking about it because it's Navaratri. We worship her to gain these virtues. She's the queen of virtues. If anyone has all of the virtues in one, it's our goddess Lakshmi. What are these virtues? So the first one was Shama, but we went to number 2, Dhamma. And we said Dhamma is engaging the sense organs intelligently, knowing where to see, where not to see, where to hear, where not to hear. Not only engaging them intelligently, but engaging them in moderation. So seeing of a good thing, too much seeing of a good thing is also not good. Too much hearing of a good thing is also not good, because one has to rest, one has to go within. So not only engaging the sense organs intelligently, but moderately. It's called Dhamma. Now we come to Shama, the first one, which is called control of the mind or management of the mind. Before we understand management of the mind, first let's understand the mind. Sense organs are easy to understand because we kind of see their outlets, we kind of experience them. This mind, what is it made up of? This mind is made up of what we see, hear, smell, taste, touch. All of that, what we experience in the world, is what lies in our mind. So whatever we're exposing ourselves to, that makes up our mind. The company we keep makes up our mind. The food we eat makes up our mind. The things we see, the things we subject ourselves to make up our mind. And that's why it is absolutely necessary to keep ourselves in that kind of environment which will be conducive to the making of a beautiful mind. Another thing that makes up our mind is our vasanas. So one is our outer nature. The other one is our vasanas. The tendencies that we already have, they also make up our mind. From past impressions, from past habits, past actions, past thoughts, things that are already there, that makes up our mind. So if we want to work on the quality of our mind, this is what we have to work on. We have to work on what's being fed to the mind. So the mind is the flow of thoughts, and the flow of thoughts, and what kind of thoughts, depending on what we took in, depending on what our vasanas are. The second point about the mind is it cannot stay still. It's very hard for it to stay still, so it wanders in so many places. And very beautifully in Self-Unfoldment, this very text, we saw in chapter 8, Energy, where the mind wanders. It wanders in the past, regrets, guilt, something happened in the past. It keeps replaying, rewinding, redoing. It wanders in the past. Sometimes it wanders in the future. For many people, it wanders in the future, worrying, stressing. Is this going to happen? Is that going to happen? All kinds of thinking. Sometimes it gets so excited in the present. How am I going to do all of this? How am I going to accomplish all of this? It gets so excited. And so the mind moves all the time. And this mind that moves it cannot do anything for us really, because it's never there. It's never where it's supposed to be. Even now, if it's supposed to be here, it's somewhere else. And ideally for a seeker, when we have the mind where we want it, we can do wonders. We really can do wonders. So that having the mind where we want it, that is called Shama. Having the mind available to the current place at the current time so that it can immensely focus and perform what is required, that is Shama. And if the mind is able to do that, then we can get so much done and our lives will be so fulfilled. So that is Shama, having the mind where we need it to be. And also Shama means having the mind in something divine. Where we need it to be is our Dharma. That's where we need it to be. Okay, so where we need it to be, not where you think you need it to be. Okay, that definition is very clear. Where we need it to be, in our Dharma. When Dharma means whatever's the right thing at the right place at the right time, that's where my mind must be. And that's it. And also it means having the mind in that which is divine. If my mind is able to do this, then the path is very easy for a seeker. Now, how do we do this? What is the way to get the mind to work for us? One is keep the mind busy. There's that old saying, everyone knows it, an idle mind is a devil's workshop. It is true. The mind is something that cannot sit still. It cannot, it needs to move, it needs to move, it needs to move. It's like a child, you know, he goes over here. And then you know how the child keeps the parents, especially younger children, they keep the parents so busy. You give them one thing to do, then they're like, okay, now I'm bored. And then you have to give them another thing to do, and then another thing, and you have to create so many things for them to do because they just want to move and move and move and move, and finally you're exhausted. So keep the mind busy. That mind should be busy. What should it do? Well, you know, there's a reason that our culture has such wonderful practices. You can do 108, one round of japa, keep it busy. There are 1,000 names of Bhagavan Vishnu that you can chant. There's 1,000 names of Devi you can chant. We have so many bhajans. We have 24,000 verses in Ramayana, 100,000 verses in Mahabharata. I mean, what more do you need? Our culture has enough and more to keep the mind busy. If you need more and more to look into, I can tell you. We have a whole library. So we are very fortunate that we have various expressions of God to keep our mind busy, engaged, and reveling. So keep that mind busy, but not too busy where it's stressed. Okay? New Yorkers have that tendency to overbook, double book, super book, that there's no time left. Huh? So keep it busy, but also remember that time for introspection. Remember, we had that chapter in Self-Unfoldment, chapter 9, all about the mind, that we at some point in time need to just step back, introspect, see what's happening in the mind. See what it is that we have to fix. See if there are any habits that are forming that I should be aware of, that shouldn't form, or if there are any good habits developing that I should let happen. So take time for introspection. So number 1, keep the mind busy, but not too busy. 2, take time for introspection. 3, have a practice of silence. Okay? So daily practice, whether it is japa followed by silence after, whether it's just a few minutes of silence, but that practice is a must because that mind has to calm down. This overworked, busy, distracted mind is not going to do us any good. It's really not going to do us any good. So that mind must be calmed down. So like this, we are able to manage that mind. And if the mind wants to do something it's not supposed to do, wants to go somewhere it's not supposed to go, remember those defects. Keep bringing those defects again and again and again in the mind. Remember, if I do this, what will happen? Remember, if I go here, what will happen? Remember, if I see this, what will happen? Keep bringing those defects in the mind. When we introspect more, when we spend more time in silence, we become more alert. That is what's required for the mind, alert living. In this way, it becomes a little bit easier to master that mind. This is called shama. Okay? And then we saw Dhamma. And Dhamma, very beautifully, before also we talked about it, is if we want to control our senses, manage our senses, then avoid situations which create temptation. If you know that something's going to tempt us and we cannot say no, don't go. Don't go because we cannot say no. And this Shama and Dhamma work together very well. If one has control of mind, control of senses is automatic. It's automatic. But if one doesn't have that control of mind, control of senses can really help. Example, let's say anger. This thought of anger is still coming, still coming. So a thought of anger is still coming. One is not able to control that thought. Then control the sense organ. Don't spurt it out. Calm down, go for a walk, drink some water, and then at the right time, talk about it. So if I'm not able to control my mind, then control the sense organ, at least. If let's say I've eaten so much and then somebody brought out gulab jamun and my mind couldn't help but say, oh, gulab jamun. Okay, the mind went there, but then at least control the sense of touch. Don't touch it, don't taste it. Huh? So sometimes when that control of mind fails, the control of senses can really help. So that's where we have to practice hand in hand. And that comes through alert living. Every time, every minute we're alert. This is happening, this is happening, this is happening. So life cannot be lived in a rush, rushing here, rushing there, going here, going there. Then there is no alert living. Then we're just moving and we're not really living. Vedanta is a very different kind of thing. To really be able to absorb it, our whole life has to change. Otherwise, it'll just be very theoretical. So Shama and Dhamma. The third one is what we call Uparama. Now this Uparama is a natural progression from Shama and Dhamma. So if Shama is the control of mind, Dhamma is control of senses, Uparama is what we call withdrawal of activity. Or it is also known as sticking to one's own dharma. Swadhyaya Anushtanam eva. So it's a natural progression that when my mind, my senses are controlled or managed, I just stick to my own dharma. I stick to whatever I'm supposed to do. Because life is about the performance of dharma. So I stick to my dharma and I don't pay attention to anyone else's drama. So this Uparama really saves us a lot of time. Many times we interfere in so many things where we don't need to interfere. Huh? This happens with a parent all the time. When the child is very young, of course, we have to interfere with everything. But when the child grows a little bit, then the less the parents have to interfere. They don't have to ask every single question, look every single time, because then the child will feel like the parents hovering over the child all the time. Then they'll say, Mom or Dad. They'll do this kind of, this must have happened to you, but this also we all did to our parents, isn't it? So there are some times where we just over interfere into everything, into other people's lives, other people's things, other situations, other places, and so much of our energy goes in interfering. Actually, sometimes the world will be more peaceful if we take a day off every now and then. They will also be more at peace and at ease because we're not there all the time. So this Uparama really means, what is your role? What is my role? Stick to that role. Stick to it. And our biggest dharma is that we are a seeker. Stick to that role. We are doing so many other adharmic roles and not even coming to this I am a seeker role. That's the most important. I am a seeker first, then I am a friend. Or I am a seeker first, then I am a parent. I am a seeker first, then I'm a teacher. When that seeker first attitude comes, life becomes so purposeful because I look at everything with the view of seeking. This is called Uparama. My first dharma I know is a seeker, and based on that, holding on to that, I perform all the other dharmas that I need to perform. And that's it. No need to go here and there, ask why this, why that. Just focus on what needs to be done. And those people who are very focused on their dharma, they have no time to gossip about this person, that person, call this person, call that person, because it doesn't do anybody any good. But this is an essential quality of the path of the seeker. When this goes deeper, Uparama means reveling or staying in our nature as Sat Chit Ananda. It is that capacity which makes it very easy for us to withdraw into what we really need to do, what's really required. Okay? Now the fourth one is what we call titiksha. Now this titiksha is a very beautiful quality. Now all of them are, of course, beautiful qualities. This quality is very nice. Titiksha means endurance. Endurance in the pair of opposites or in non-conducive situations. So many times in life, non-conducive situations come. Non-conducive situations means it's not something that you want. It's not something that you like. And so therefore, when there are such situations that come, endure it. So, for example, this now pandemic, maybe it's not something that we want. It's not something that we really ask for. Nobody asked for it. But we have to just endure it. Now, what does this endurance mean? Endurance means, see here, in life, there are some things that we cannot control. We cannot control. Like this pandemic, we cannot control. Therefore, endure. But in life also, there are some things which maybe we can change, maybe we can fix. But the Diksha says, be very careful. Endure. Pick what you need to fix and let everything else go. For example, we had this Vedanta Ramanam camp. This was 2 years ago. And this topic was given to me, Titiksha, or I had picked it. And it was so nice because, when you're in a different place, you're a different environment, food is different, your roommate's different, timing is different, everything is different. And so one has to adjust. Now, the whole purpose of that trip was to learn more, especially from Guruji. Now, if one is going to focus on the kind of food we have there, or the kind of roommates we have, or the timing, why is the timing like this, or why is this class this, or why is this class like that? If one is going to even focus on all such other things, then what's the point of going there? That whole knowledge will be lost. Maybe it's not towards up to what you would want, or maybe it is, but it's not even worth thinking about. Just take it cheerfully and endure it, because that's not what you came here for, right? So what if there's maybe a little discomfort, or a little bit, maybe something that you and I don't like, or something that we're not comfortable with? It's okay, but that's not what we came for. If we're going to start fixing every single thing, then we will spend our whole lives fixing every single thing, and we will miss out on what's important. So titiksha means so many things will happen. The weather will be cold, the weather will be hot. People will say these nice things, people will say not so nice things. But if we're going to focus on every single thing that happens, where is the time for spiritual pursuit? So titiksha means endure everything and anything that's non-conducive to what you think. Endure pairs of opposites. Cold when it comes, heat when it comes, sorrow when it comes, joy. Sometimes joy when it comes also one has to endure. In what way? Because when you're happy, then everybody will want to be happy with you, and there's so many people, and wow, those also have to be endured, right? Endure honor when it comes, endure dishonor when it comes, and just let it go, because it's not part of your spiritual pursuit. And this titiksha, this endurance, is not this endurance like, oh my God, I'm just going to endure it. No, Gurudev says it's a cheerful acceptance, without worry and without complaint. So no complaint, no worry, not even giving it enough attention, because it's just on the way. And we know that all of these things are temporary, so they'll come, they'll go, but keep focused. That's called titiksha. The next one is what we have as shraddha or faith. So titiksha is enduring the pinpricks of life with a cheerful attitude, without worry, without complaint. And this will come in the Bhagavad Gita also. Bhagavan Krishna will say it. So anytime you see someone, that something is non-conducive, just say titiksha, titiksha. That's not what you came here for. You and I came here for something much deeper. So next, shraddha. Shraddha, number 5. Shraddha means faith. In this particular path, faith is something that's extremely important, because we're talking about something that's so incredibly subtle. I mean, we're talking about this consciousness, this awareness. I mean, who's ever even heard of something like this? So in the beginning, we doubt that such a thing exists. We doubt that what they're saying, is it true? We doubt because we've never heard something before like this. Then we doubt because we have not experienced it. So we doubt for so many reasons. And whenever we doubt, we will never know. So in Vedanta, Shraddha is having faith in the Guru and in the Vedanta, in the scriptures, in God, in oneself. Now, faith in Vedanta is not blind faith. Nobody is asking us to believe blindly. In fact, our tradition encourages questioning. How so? The Bhagavad Gita is a samvada, it's a dialogue. It's a dialogue, and Arjuna is free. I mean, those of you who are studying Bhagavad Gita, you will see how free Arjuna is in the first chapter, expressing himself out. And he himself says, I have a doubt. And in the subsequent chapters, we'll see how Arjuna asks Lord Krishna, I don't know how to do this. Please tell me, please guide me, please advise me. Our Upanishads are a dialogue between the Guru and the Shishya. Nowhere in our culture does it say, we will tell you and you listen. Our culture is very open. It says, question all you want and we have answers for you. Because whatever you've asked, people have asked before and before and before. And our itihasas, our Puranas, enough proof of this. So this faith is not a blind faith. This faith is just asking us to hold on until we ourselves see it. It is saying that you and I will actually realize it. But till we cannot realize it, hold on to the Guru and the scriptures so that they can guide you step by step. And one day you will see it for yourself. Until you cannot, hold on. Have something to hold on. That is called faith. I'm holding on because I know there is something. I might not know what it is. I know there is something, and I'm just going to walk with it. And I'm going to try. I'm going to try whatever the prescription of the Shastras is. I'm going to try it. And the more faith one has in something, the deeper they practice it, and the deeper they see the result. This is also so true, whenever we are given mantras or prayers, and then the teacher will say, contemplate on it. And we'll say, okay, we contemplated on it for 3 days and nothing happened. Of course, nothing's going to happen. It takes time. It takes time for things to really settle in. But Vedanta freely says, you do it yourself, you try it yourself, you see for yourself. And then when you know for yourself, it won't be faith anymore, it will be fact. So that faith is necessary until it becomes a fact for you. And therefore, utmost faith in the scriptures and in our Guru Parampara, that lineage of Guru Shishya who's been guiding us. And faith also in God. One might wonder, where is God coming in? I am that pure consciousness. I am that self. That's what the scriptures say. But where does God come in? God is the one that unites the Guru and the Shishya. God is the one that brings the student and the teacher together. That is God. God is the one that makes the whole world function. So that faith will give a lot of peace and also faith in oneself. That yes, with God's grace, I can walk too. I can do this. It might seem very hard. It might seem very abstract in the beginning. It might seem very odd, but if I try, I also can do it. So that is called Shraddha. Shraddhavan labate jnanam. The Bhagavad Gita says, the one who has faith will get it. For sure. For sure. Shraddha. And then the sixth one is what we call Samadhana, or the single pointedness of mind. So what happens with the first five we see is that we're really, really saving our energy. With control of senses and control of mind, we're saving so much energy because the mind is not wandering outside, or the senses are not going outside. With uparama, or sometimes called uparati, we save energy because we're sticking to our own activity. We're not interfering unnecessarily in other people's business and other people's lives. We are sticking to our dharma. With titiksha, we are saving so much energy because we're enduring all of those nuances which we consider to be non-conducive, but we're not paying too much attention to them because they're not part of our goal. They're not the goal. And with Shraddha, we're also saving energy because imagine if we're doubting the whole way, how much energy will go in that. But if we just latch on, we have faith, freely we will cruise. Freely we will cruise, and there will be no such energy wasted. So with all of these five wealths, you can see we're conserving so much energy. If one wants to know what to do to conserve energy, develop these qualities. We will have so much energy. Then what to do with all of that energy that I've just conserved? Samadhana means you absorb your mind in that truth. It can be absorb the mind in God, absorb the mind in truth, but it is contemplating single-pointedly. It can be contemplating single-pointedly in any action that we're doing. That is also samadhana, whether it's sitting, whether it's eating, whether it's reading, whether it's sending an email. Single-pointedness in every action is called samadhana. Or absorbing the mind in that which is higher is also, if samadhana leads to samadhi. So that is also part of samadhana. So creating that single-pointed focus, that is what is the result of all of this. And we saw with the children in the assembly what focus does. Focus brings out the absolute best ability in us. And focus makes us able to do maximum in minimum time. It just takes that focus. And for that, the practice of japa is an absolute essential technique. And this visualization that I was teaching them, extremely essential to build that single pointedness. Because now that's what a lot of people have trouble with, this distracted mind. Mind's going here, mind's going there, mind's going here, mind's going there. So with these six, we have sixfold wealth. So Viveka, Vairagya, the sixfold wealth. Shama, Dhamma, Parama, Titiksha, Shraddha, Samadhana. Now, the fourth one. What is the fourth quality? The fourth quality is called Mumukshutvam. Mumukshutvam means burning desire for liberation. It means that one has the desire to be free. What do you mean be free? One has the desire to realize the truth, to realize that which is permanent joy. Because one may have vairagya. One may realize this world is impermanent. This world doesn't give any joy. This world is just not worth it. One may come to that realization, but still one may not want to pursue the truth. So that wanting to pursue the truth fully and completely, that is called mumukshutva. And in this desire for liberation, there are various grades. There are grades where if I get liberated, it's okay, but I'm not really looking for it. So there are some who feel like that. If I get liberated, it's okay, but I'm not feeling. Yeah, if it happens, okay, but I'm not going to put forth effort right now. Then there are others who feel like, this all sounds nice, but maybe when I retire or something, maybe when I'm older, because now I have kids, I've got so many things to do. So this moksha thing right now, maybe not now, maybe a little bit later. So this will keep getting delayed. Or some people feel, yeah, I want moksha, I want liberation, but I also want so many other things in this world. I also still kind of want a nice house and some comfort, and I want liberation, and it's one of those things that I want. I want a nice career and I want moksha, so there's also some people who feel I want liberation, but I also want all of these other things. So those are various grades. But there's what we call intense longing, where it is, I want this, and I want it here and now. And I don't want to come back again. I don't want to go through this cycle again. I just want that. That is called intense longing. That the seeker really wants it and wants out. And it's often described as, this story, I think it was with Swami Vivekananda. And someone asked him, when will I be liberated? And so I think they were in a river, and Swami Vivekananda put his head down in the river. And he was like, what are you, he was gasping for breath, and pulled him back up. And he was gasping for breath, gasping. He said, why did you do that? And he said, how much did you want that air? How much were you gasping for breath? He said, I just wanted to breathe. I couldn't think of anything else. I just wanted to breathe. And so Swami Vivekananda said, when you just want liberation, the way you just wanted air, you'll get it. And that's the truth. The intensity of our desire determines our effort. And you and I know this. We know it very well, because when we have desired something intensely, we would have gotten it. We're go-getters. Anything stood in our way, we moved them out, and we got it, and we got it done. Everybody here has that experience. With moksha, it should be the same way. That at some point in time, that desire is so intense that we just want that and that alone. Now the argument is going to be, but you cannot force desire. And this comes in Brahma Sutra. You can't really force desire to come. So the trick is just spend time in satsang. Spend time in satsang. Spend time with the company of the good, the people on the path. And slowly this desire will kindle. And at some point in time, it will become intense. intense enough to be the only one that exists. That's called intense mumukshutva. Sometimes people feel like, is this really going to happen? This is like so much. Just keep walking. The most beautiful thing one of our teachers told us is, just keep walking. And every step becomes clearer. Every single step we lay becomes clearer as we walk. And everything in our life is made in such a way so that we gain more qualities. When we start seeing our family as a field for helping us becoming better, becoming more qualified, becoming more pure, then family becomes more beautiful. When we start seeing work as a field which helps us become more purified and better, that also becomes beautiful. So see everything as a field which is helping us grow, which is helping us develop these qualities that are essential for a spiritual growth. Then life will be very beautiful. And without knowing, those qualities will come. It doesn't mean because it's not obvious that we're not growing. Before a seed comes out from the mud, it takes time, but it's doing so much work under the mud. So it doesn't mean that because nothing is coming out of us, we're not growing. So much growth is happening. Just keep walking, and we will see what happens. So today we stop with this in sadhana. Next week, probably we will do a discussion because this sadhana is a very important topic. So I think we might do a discussion next week, and I will email you some questions to ponder and reflect upon, and then we will move forward. I'll stop here to see if anybody has any questions. Let me see if you can unmute 1 minute. So when we talk about, remembering defects, right? If we were to get engaged in something, so remember the defects. Like, if I get engaged in this, or if I do this, what will happen to me? What is the result that's going to happen? How will it affect all the people around me? How long will it take me to again come up after this? And do I really want to go through this again? It's a very simple thing. Let's say if I eat an ice cream, that means I ate once and I can't eat anymore because I won't be able to talk. So if I eat that, I'm gonna be like, oh my God, remember when I ate it once? I couldn't talk, I was coughing. And therefore, so many people it affects because I'm speaking, then I have to drink water, I have to stop every now and then. And do I really want to go down that path again? Oh, it's terrible. All of these things you think about, and then I look at that thing and I'm like, oh no, I'm not going near you anymore. I'll just have buttermilk. So, you remember all of these things. You see that one thing and you remember. Our mind has to be like that. You see this one thing which caused us to fall, that memory of the fall has to be there. If the memory of the fall is not there, we will fall again and again and again and again. That's why reflection is of utter importance. That time where we really reflect and sit and think, if I do this, so many defects can happen. So many people can get affected. So many things will go down. So if we sit and think like this, then right away when we see that person, that experience, that object, I'm not going to do it again. And all of us have had that experience. I bet you remember when you've tasted something and you had a terrible stomach ache. And you have that memory of that terrible stomach ache etched in your head. That if somebody gives you that kind of thing, you're going to be like, no, I'm not even going there. Isn't it? Everybody has that. So the defects have to be etched in our memory. So remember, I had said before when we talked about the past, right? I said things to remember about the past is inspiration and 2 lessons. So just take the lesson. We don't need the whole experience, the whole thing. Just take the lesson. Remember this lesson, and that's it. So it's not what that we're living in the past. We're just referring to the past when we need to for that particular lesson. So that is all. That is all that's required. It doesn't seem that bad to keep coming back. Is it that every time we come back, we are taking a risk to start our journey towards moksha a little bit behind from where we may have left off? So this is the thing, right? Some of us feel like it's not so bad to come back into this world. And if we feel that it's not so bad to come back into this world, then keep coming back and keep coming back and keep coming back. And at some point in time, we will feel like, I don't want to come back anymore. So if we're still at that stage where we feel like it's not so bad, it's okay. Then keep coming back. Keep coming back until you've had enough. And where do we start from? The next life, where do we start from? We start from where we left off. So if we left off at a certain place, we will start from there. That is what Bhagavan Krishna tells us from the Bhagavad Gita. But we don't know which birth, where, in what form, in what shape, how it will be. We have no idea. But the fact is, in Vivekachudamani, there's a very beautiful verse that says if a person has these 3 things, it's very rare. If a person has these 3 things, they should pursue the truth. And if they don't, it's like spiritual suicide. A person has human birth, manushyatva, a desire for liberation, and a guru parampara, a teacher, a spiritual master. If they have these 3 things and still they do not pursue liberation, Adi Shankaracharya says it's like spiritual suicide. It's like they had everything they grip, but they didn't pursue it. So that is up to us. Okay, there's a question here. What does it say in Vedanta on getting involved? Could it be seen as interfering in social causes, minding one's own business? So here, see, when we say stick to your dharma, now all of us have studied this dharma word really well. We have a dharma as a brahmana, kshatriya, vaishya, shudra. So people who are in a particular dharma, of course, I have my own family dharma, but I have my dharma as a society also. So if I am living in society and if I do feel for a particular cause, then yes, I can get involved in it as long as it's within my dharma. Within my dharma. For example, I do care about the environment very much. I do. But if somebody tells me now you join the EPA and do all of this, I will say I cannot, because my dharma now is being a seeker and is teaching. I cannot join all of that, but that doesn't mean I won't support that cause, because I will put it in my teaching, in my own way. So you get involved as per your dharma. So that is what it doesn't mean that we should be completely, away from the world and not caring what's happening. As per our dharma, get involved, but to be very, very mindful.